With so many characters, events, and game modes to manage in Marvel Strike Force, things can get a little overwhelming for beginners, but don't worry. In this video guide, I'm giving you my best recommendations for characters, teams, and important priorities you should focus on as a beginner and mid-game player. So if you're ready to get started in Marvel Strike Force and get to the end game as quickly and efficiently as possible, and you know what to do, Valley Club, find that like button and let's go smash it. And boom, here we are in the starting screen of Marvel Strike Force. Now, normally what I'm recommending for players is to focus on your arena team. This is where you're gonna get your major source of power cores, which is gonna help you in every single aspect of the game. Also with your raid teams, because raid is something that you're doing on a daily basis, and it's this great source of rewards. A lot of your resources, especially gear, is gonna come from these raids. So those are two very, very important things to focus on. But if you're a newer player, you probably don't have all these campaign missions unlocked. So that should be priority number one. Next priority is these challenges. These are also something that you're going to do every day. They switch every day. If you want to see when these particular challenges run, they are listed in game. So it's very, very easy. And we also have these flash events that pop up every now and then. Usually these flash events happen every month. You want to get a 3-star in these as well, because these are also valuable resources for you. If this is your first time here on the channel, hit that subscribe button for more great Marvel Strike Force content. We have at least 5 Marvel Strike Force videos per week on this channel, helping you at every level of the game with question and answer videos, news videos, gameplay videos, everything to help your experience in Marvel Strike Force. Now let's talk about these characters. And as far as upgrading your characters, there's a few ways that we could make these characters more powerful. First is this level. So you're going to need gold and training mass to up their level. You have these stars here. You have these gold stars, which you're going to get from character shards. So the more shards you get from orbs or through events, the higher their star level is going to be. You also have these red stars here, and you could upgrade the red stars by getting lucky by opening one of these red star orbs. You could purchase these red stars in the store with your silver promotion credits, gold promotion credits for them. And certain characters are going to need dark promotion credits. So you could upgrade a character there. You also make them stronger with his gear. So you're going to need those particular pieces of gear, which we're going to talk about how to farm. And you're going to need gold to upgrade that. You also have these abilities and this ISO 8. So let's talk about these abilities first. Every character has 7 levels. Some have a few more. And you are going to upgrade these abilities. They're going to make them stronger. It's going to give them their full kit. And we have this new feature, the Jarvis feature, which I do think is good for newer players. Now, sometimes these recommendations will be a little wonky. And if you want the best possible recommendations, you're going to have to check out some of the other ValleyFlyin videos for some of the best recommendations here. But if you just want some basic recommendations, what a lot of the community is doing, what the majority of the community is doing, you could just take these, and if you're a casual player, these are pretty good. You also have these recommendations on these ISO 8 classes, because as we go into ISO 8, we have the green that we can start to farm. Then we have the blue that unlocks at level 75. Once you get your characters up to 75, give you different classes here: Striker, Fortifier, Healer, Skirmisher, Raider. Each has their different benefits, and you want to choose the best benefit for each character. And we have this Jarvis feature here as well that could recommend the best classes for each character. Again, sometimes these are kind of wonky. Sometimes these are going to be the best for each situation. And sometimes they work well in certain game modes, but not as well in certain game modes. So this is a good starting point, but for actual recommendations for ISO 8 classes and abilities, you probably want to check out the latest videos on these characters there. But that is basically how you can upgrade these characters, how you can make them stronger. But let's talk about these campaign notes, what they're going to give you. So as you're upgrading characters, obviously you want these character shards. In each of these missions here, you want to go in and try to 3-star as many of these as possible, because these are going to be your sources for the gear that we talked about to upgrade their gear level. You're getting gold here. You're getting training mats here to upgrade their levels. And on certain nodes, you're also going to get character shards to upgrade their star level, their gold star level as well. You want to get these as soon as possible. And there are some limitations of the characters you can bring into each of these campaigns. These hero nodes, only heroes. These villain nodes, only villains. Nexus, you could bring in whatever character you want. Cosmic conflicts, you could only bring in cosmic characters, so characters with that cosmic tag. Mystic forces, only characters with a mystic tag. There's a bunch of different restrictions for do more. And then we have these ISO 8 energy. This is for your green ISO 8, the initial level. And then you have these harder ISO 8 levels for your blue ISO 8 for the levels after 75. once they get to the blue. We also have this hard version of heroes, the hard version of villains, and the hard version of Nexus. You want to try to get these as soon as possible with as little investment as possible. And one of the more important things in Marvel Strike Force is choosing which are the best characters to build. We have over 250 characters in Marvel Strike Force at the time of this recording. That number is only going to go up, so the selection is going to be very important. Now, in determining what are the best characters you should be building in the beginning, let's look at some of the restrictions that we have on some of these nodes, also some of the restrictions that we have in some of these flash events. So you could get through these as soon as possible, start getting all those resources to get to that end game as quick as possible. The first restrictive node comes in this early Heroes chapters. Nodes 1 through 3 and Chapter 7 of Heroes has some restrictions here. First 3 nodes limited to city hero characters, and these are what I would recommend for this. Based on, you could get some of these character shards very early on. They're easy to get, and they're still going to have you get some value in the end game. Now, they're better characters that you probably should be building if you have access to these, like Gwenpool, like Firestar, like some of your secret defenders like Miss Marvel, Hardlight, Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, obviously good characters, but I think this is a good mix of characters you have early access to in the beginning as well. And in nodes 7 through 6, you're restricted to hero global characters. These are some characters that I would recommend as a newer player. If you have access to some of these other characters like Weaver, Red Hulk, Rogue, Wong, Nick Fury, Quicksilver, they would probably be better choices in this, but I think this is a good mix of early game characters that you could have access to. It'll still give you some value towards the end game. And in nodes 7 through 9, cosmic heroes are the restriction here. And there's a lot of great characters you could build in, like Nova, Deathpool, Val, Kestrel, Cersei. Some of these are a little harder to farm. So this is what I would recommend in as an early player. You could get Icarus very early on, Gamora early on. You're going to get some value from these Asgardians later. So this is what I recommend as a newer player, but obviously, like my other recommendations, if you have access to some of these other characters that you that are more later game characters, then bring them in over some of these. Now, Villains Chapter 7, nodes 1 through 3 gets a little tough. You're restricted to AIM, Hydra, and Sinister 6 characters. Not a lot of great characters in this section here. Zemo is going to give you use as a great plug-and-play character. Winter Soldier is a member of the current Rebirth team. I don't like any of these characters on the side here. They may be getting a rework, and the recommendations may change. You may need some of these minions for some of these Scourges, like the Archangel Scourge. The rest of these characters, I think, are pretty trash in the game right now, unless you really are focused on war defense. The only characters that really built seriously for this node, Zemo, Winter Soldier, they are good enough that if you put enough resources in them, they could finish this for you at 3 stars. So yeah, build these characters up and just build up characters that you're gonna, and bring in other characters that you're not gonna die and give you a 2 or less star in this node. Get the 3 star and then move on with these characters. And Villains 7-4 through 7-6, very important node because this is where you can unlock Hela. Now, if you have Hela already unlocked, user on this node, it's gonna make it a lot easier, but Heartless is gonna have a lot of value. Loki still has a lot of value, and so does Agatha. If you can get access to them for this node, it's gonna make it a lot easier. Negative is here, you should be getting shards for him every day from the web store, and you could build them. Still has a lot of value in Cosmic Crucible. And Elektra, not a great character, but you will need to build up hand for that relic hunt. So you can kind of build up Elektra here and bring her in. Now, if you have some of these other characters, Morgan Le Fay, if for some reason you already have Dormammu and Doom before you got to this node, you're doing things backwards, but congratulations to you. You could build in some of these other characters as well. Obviously, other characters like Absorbing Man, Thanos is going to have some value. The rest of these Bifrost characters are going to have value as well. And I know 7-7 through 7-9, you have any villain characters that you want to bring in. You don't have to use these characters. Just bring in your best villain characters, and you should be good in this node. You got a lot of options here. Nexus Chapter 8, nodes 1 through 3 is unrestricted, so you can bring whatever characters, just bring your best characters available for these 3 nodes. And Chapter 8-4 through 8-6, you only can bring Kree, Guardians, and Asgardians to these nodes, and these are some recommendations I would bring into these nodes. Some Asgardians here, which you're going to need for other content. Thor, Jane Foster, Valkyrie. We also have Gamora here, which you could get stars for her early on, and still is sort of relevant with the Infinity Watch. We also have Loki, part of that Bifrost team. And if you have characters like Val, Hela, Infinity War, Thor, they'd probably be better suited in this node. If you have some of these other Bifrost characters like Teen Loki, Beta Red Bill, bring them as well. But if you don't have access to them very early on, I think this team would work for beating those few nodes. And on nodes 8-7 through 8-9, 8-9 is where you could get that Thanos farm. I'd bring in these characters. You're limited to Shield, Brotherhood, or X-Men. And if you have these characters like Rogue, Magneto, Nick Fury, they're going to be needed later on. Build them instead of these characters. But if you don't have access to them, Gambit is a very easy farm early on. You have Dazzler there, Psylocke, Captain America, and Sunfire that you could all build for this node. And I'm going to do more chapters, restrictions on almost every single node, starting with 1-1 through 1-3. You only could use hero mutants and hero inhuman characters. This is who I'd recommend. A lot of our unlimited X-Men who you're going to need down the road anyway for Apocalypse. We also have one of our Death Seed characters who are going to need down the road anyway for Apocalypse. So you're not losing too much building these characters. But of course, if you have access to Rogue, maybe Black Bolt, maybe Jubilee, maybe even Firestar, who is more later game characters, I'd build them instead of some of these. Maybe not Jubilee, but definitely Firestar and Rogue I would build up. Doom War 1-4 through 1-6, only Hero, Mystic, or Guardians characters are available. And these are some early access characters that I would recommend. Cloak and Dagger. Icarus is very easily farmable. So is Gamora and Scarlet Witch if you need a little more defense. Black Panther is there if you need a little more offense as a replacement. Cersei would be great in this node. She's a little later game farm. So if you do have access to her through premium orbs, basic orbs, use her. She's going to be that Eternals combo is still very, very strong nowadays. And if you have access to characters like Weaver, Deathpool, Wong, very, very good in this node as well. Quicksilver, also very good. And Doom nodes 1-7 through 1-9 restricts you to Shield, Wave 1 Avengers, or Fantastic Four characters. These are characters that I'd probably bring at this point. A Wave 1 Avengers, Thor still has some value. Captain America has some value because of Rebirth team, Hulk on that Gamma team. Black Widow does have that military skill tag, which you are going to need down the road for that back to boot camp event. So it wouldn't be too bad building Black Widow. We also have Maria Hill here, who's also very easy to access and gives you some value in the early game, but not needed at all in the late game nowadays. And Doom 2-1 to 2-3 gets a little tough. You're restricted to AIM, mercenaries, and Wakandan characters. There are not a lot of great mercenaries and there are not a lot of AIM characters. So you're pretty much trying to do this with Taskmaster and your Wakandans here. Bring in whatever Wakandans you have, whether Killmonger's built up a little more. You're going to need the Wakandans for that Chaos Theory, and you're going to need to build your Mercs, including Taskmaster, for that Payday event. So build these characters. You should have them built already. If you have Shuri, she's going to make this a lot easier. If you don't, I do think that this team will work. Now, as far as Doom Chapter 2-4 to 2-6, not a lot of great options here. This is where you can start to farm Captain Sam on Doom 2-6. So this is going to be a good node for a lot of players here. Not a lot of great options as far as characters to bring in. Negative, I think you're going to need that anyway. Same with Kingpin, same with Anti-Venom. And you are going to get some value with these tangled characters, although you may not have access to them as an early game player. You do have access to Weaver in 2099. Bring them in. If you don't, you can build up some of these other characters, maybe some early Web Warriors for that Morgan Le Fay unlock down the road. But that would be it. This is going to be a tougher challenge, but it is very, very important because this is a node that you could unlock Captain Sam. And nodes 2-7 through 2-9 features the Black Order, Hydra, or Power Armor characters. Now, Power Armor doesn't have a lot of value nowadays. I would recommend avoiding them as much as possible. Zemo, Winter Soldier, you're still going to get that value. And unfortunately, to round out this team, you may be able to do it with just Zemo and Winter Soldier, but if you do have access to some of these other Black Order characters like Ebony Maw or Corvus or Proxima, they're going to help you in this game mode as well. If you have Call, just bring in your 4 Black Order and maybe Zemo, and that should do it for you. But not a lot of great options here again. Nodes 3-1 to 3-3, very easy characters. You could bring in whatever characters. There's no restrictions. Just bring in your best characters. Nodes 3-4 to 3-6 limits you to Avengers or Fantastic Four characters. Not a lot of use out of those Fantastic Four characters, so you're going to bring in your best Avengers here. I think you should have access to Thor, Captain America, Hulk, and Black Panther. If you've managed to beat that node on 2-6, you should have Captain Sam there. You have Nick Fury, that's going to be a great character as well. Squirrel Girl's another great character. Infinity War, Thor is great. Scarlet Witch, you're going to need for that Apocalypse unlock, and that is who I would limit these nodes to if possible. All right, and we got another challenging section here because the limited tags, Hero Tech or Hero Supernatural characters. Not a lot of great options. I'm really not liking any of these. Kestrel's a good character, but maybe a little harder for newer players to access. Kate Bishop is good, but not needed for anything now. Scarlet Witch, you will need them for that Apocalypse unlock. Doctor Strange has that Secret Defender tag and may be relevant in Arena and War. And Hulkbuster, Viv Vision, you have some options here for what Bionic Avenger you want to build. All of them have kind of fallen out of the meta if you're in the incursion raids. They still work very good if you're in Doom raids or below. Shuri is that legendary unlock, so if you have her and you have access to her, she will be great in this node. But if you don't have access to some of these later game characters, this node will be a little tougher for you. And moving on to the 4.1 through 4.3 chapters of the Doom War, we have the limits of Spider-Verse, New Warriors, or Heroes for Hire. Now, if you have a full New Warriors team, you have Gwenpool, you have Firestar, just bring that. That should be fine. If you don't and have to piece together some teams, Agent Venom is another character member of that Rebirth team that you're going to need down the road. Negative is something that you're getting charged for every single day and still has a lot of value in Crucible and War. Shang-Chi has a lot of value in Crucible and War. So these are some characters that are still going to give you some value down the road. But of course, if you have Weaver, if you have Deathpool, 2099, Gwenpool, Firestar, those are going to be preferable choices to some of these characters. Chapters 4.4 through 4.6 has that same limitation of hero mutants. We had heroes mutants from back in chapter 1, and we're going to use the same team here. Sunfire, Psylocke, Phantom X, Gambit, Dazzler. If you have access to Rogue, she's going to be great. Firestar is another newer character that if you have her, she will be great in this node and wouldn't be a waste of resources to build. But all of these characters that we're choosing for this are required for Apocalypse, so build these characters, it's not a waste. And rounding out these Doom War chapters 4.7 through 4.9, we have limits of Mystic and non-minions. Well, if you have both the Eternals, bring them in. If you have Dormammu, Doom, Deathpool, those would be great characters. But if, again, we're trying to balance these early game farms and good characters, well, Cloak Dagger is here. We got two Darkhold characters here that are going to be needed for Apocalypse. We have Icarus here because Icarus is easily farmable. You already have Cersei though. Cersei and Icarus should be able to handle this no problem. But if you don't have Cersei, you should at least bring in Icarus. So you're going to be working towards getting a 3-star in each of those nodes, and then eventually the hard version of the Villains campaign, the hard versions of Heroes campaign, and the hard version of the Nexus campaigns to give you access. And all at that same time, you're working on these other teams or these flash events. Payday requires mercs, and these are the mercs in the game right now. Only one really worth building is Taskmaster. He has the value with that Underworld team. Killmonger, probably also worth building because you're gonna need Wakandans, and Wakandans have use in other game modes. The rest of these characters not really worth building unless you're building minions for the Archangel Scourge event that's coming back. So Payday gives gold, Relic Hunt gives you some gear, and for that you're gonna need your hand characters. And to be honest, there's no good hand characters here. Elektra was on that Shadowland teams way long ago. Nobu was on an Underworld team, so it's a little bit of value, but that is about it. And Sentry is at one time was one of the best minion characters, but that was a long time ago. So build them as minimal as possible so you can get that gear from Relic Hunt and then just kind of forget about them. Once you've 3-starred all the Relic Hunt nodes, then don't even worry about your hand characters. Block Party is another flash event. You're going to get your ability materials from Block Party, and you could use your city heroes. You got a lot of great options as far as city heroes. You got your new Secret Defender characters, which are going to be a part of the next arena meta. We have She-Hulk here, who is required for Apocalypse. We have your full New Warrior team. Well, almost full. We don't have Deathpool there, but we have the rest of the New Warrior characters. Shang-Chi is there. We have Squirrel Girl there. We have the Web Warriors, which isn't very valuable in the raids right now, but is still required if you want to unlock Morgan Le Fay. So you got options here for your city heroes. Oh, just bring in whoever you have for city heroes whenever Block Party comes around and see how far you can get in that event. Chaos Theory is where you get your gold and silver promotion credits to upgrade the red stars on your characters. And for that, you're going to need your Wakandan characters. Great options here. Black Panther, 1MM, Nakia, Okoye, Shuri, Killmonger, M'Baku, all of them are great characters that have use either in Cosmic Crucible or in War. But at this point, once you have 3-starred all the nodes on that Chaos Theory for those promo credits, probably wouldn't put too much in the Wakandans. Back to Boot Camp event is where you need a training match. For that, you're going to need military skill characters. Elena Belova, Black Widow, Killmonger, Red Guardian. Now, we do have some overlaps with some events with Killmonger being a Wakandan. We also have Merc Soldier, who is a Merc for that gold Payday event. So you may want to invest in both of those two. Red Guardian is a pre-taunting tank. There's not many of them in the game. Punisher doesn't have a lot of value. Black Widow does have some of that Avenger value as well. Plus, she's part of that new Infestation team. So for this, I would recommend Black Widow, Killmonger, Red Guardian, and Punisher. And it is your choice if you want to build up Punisher or Yelena Belova. And last but not least, in terms of flash events, is your Nowhere Heist. We're going to get your Dark promo credits, your Elite 7 credits. For that, you're going to need characters with that actual Nowhere Heist tag, which includes Doc Ock, Kitty Pryde, Invisible Woman, Star-Lord, and Rocket Raccoon. I've brought these characters at the bare minimum they need just for that event, and then I've stopped investing in them. These characters don't have a lot of value in the end game, so I'd build them up just for this Nowhere Heist. It is repeating, so you're going to get this Dark promo value, but after you've built it up and finished Nowhere Heist with 3 stars, you don't really need to invest in these characters too much. So those are the characters you're going to need for this early game content. I would focus on building these characters and these teams, especially focus on these characters that could overlap a few different nodes, a few different challenges. So I'd farm them on a daily basis, building them up. Also start to build up some of these characters through the purchases in the store. Let's focus on some of these best purchases here. The first one is this Blitz store. Now, the question always becomes with the Blitz store and the Raid store, should you buy these individual characters or buy these orbs, which are cheaper? You're not going to get that selection of characters. You're not going to be able to choose which character shards you get. So you might get a bad character, but you're going to get more overall character shards by buying these Blitz orbs. And you're also going to get gold, which I think is both important things in the early game. Now, you could also farm some other characters. If you want to target farm them, you are using more Blitz credits, but you are getting the character shards you want. So that is the benefits and negatives to each. Some characters that you may want to look at if you are target farming this. Sunfire, he is a horseman. You're going to need him for Apocalypse. Same thing with Braun. We also have Shang-Chi, who is a good character, valuable in many, many game modes. That is a character that I would focus on, even though it's not really needed in the raids, not really needed in arena, but he's such a good overall character. I think he's going to have value in this game for a while. We also have a lot of these Black Order characters, which, as you saw, will be needed for some of those Doom chapters down the road. So if you want to start to build them, this is where you can get them. She-Hulk is valuable in a lot of those early campaign nodes, plus she is required for Apocalypse. The rest of these characters you can build at your own leisure. Gamora is also great in some of these early campaigns as well, but that is about it as far as these characters. Those are the characters that I would target farm. If you don't need shards for them, I would just open these orbs and get more shards and more gold. The same thing kind of goes for this raid store. Now, you're not going to be able to see all the raid characters here. So for that, we would need to go into this raid orb to see the characters that are available in the raid store. And these are the characters that are available here. Now, the characters that I would look at in the raid store, Icarus, obviously, we mentioned him for a lot of these different nodes here. Very, very good character. Same thing with Cloak. Those are the 2 characters that I would target farm if I see them in the store. The rest of these characters are going to make life a lot easier, but kind of like with the Blitz store, you're going to get more character shards with just those raid orbs. The downside is you're not going to be able to choose which characters you get the shards for. Loki is a member of the Asgardians and the Bifrost, so double value there. And we also have US Agent there, which is a part of that Rebirth team. Very, very important. We also have Zemo, Thor. So a lot of great characters in the raid store. Now, the arena store works a little differently than the Blitz store and the raid store. We have different values for these characters. We have some of these newer characters costing 975 of these arena credits. Some of these older characters costing 500. And the orb itself is a little more expensive than the old characters, but it's a little cheaper than some of the newer characters. So it's not the 1-for-1 conversion of just get more shards or get the select characters. It's a little different when the arena store. Now, characters that I would selectively farm in the arena store. Heartless is a great character. We talked about his value. Dagger also has that value as well. You don't have Morgan Le Fay unlocked. You eventually will need to get some of these Web Warrior characters to get through some of the content there. Red Guardian, we talked about him for the Back to Boot Camp event. Swarm is a member of that Infestation team if you're into war defense. Corvus is there for that Black Order that you might need for some of those Doom chapters. We have another Asgardian here in Heimdall. We have M'Baku here for the Wakandan tag. We also have Scarlet Witch, which you're going to need to unlock Apocalypse. So a lot of these characters are needed. And there is a debate. Is it better to farm some of these selectively or just open these orbs? Agent Venom, as of me recording this, only available in these orbs right now. So it's not like a 1-to-1 conversion like I mentioned for the Blitz and the Raid store. Next is the War store. Now, this is going to be a little harder to farm because there's no orb that it features character shards, and you're only popping up 3 characters at a time in the War store. Now, characters that I would spend this war currency on, Nakia, she is a Wakanda. You're going to need her down the road. Dazzler is a Horseman character. You're going to need her as well. Maria Hill, we mentioned her for some other Shield Avengers content, and that is a character that you might want to invest in. But these characters are not going to be popping up every single time the store refreshes, so you may see them once a week, you may see them twice a week. These are characters that I would selectively farm just because the rarity that they show up. Next is the Crucible store, and kind of like the War store, you're not going to see all the characters all the time here, and there is no orb that features character shards directly. There's 6 characters. Some have a higher cost than others. The newer characters have a higher cost. There's a lot of great characters in this store. Gambit is one of them. Abomination is one of them. Both are required to unlock Apocalypse. We also have Black Panther here, who is needed for some of that Wakandan content, but it's also available on Nexus 4.9, so I probably wouldn't farm him through this Crucible store here. Hulkbuster we talked about. You can build them for some of these early campaign nodes, but it looks like Bionic Avengers is going to be the next team that is being replaced on the raid, so I probably wouldn't build them at this point for the raids. But if you want to build Hulkbuster or one of these Bionic Avengers to get you through these campaigns, that is totally doable. Other characters that I focus on in this store, though, are Captain Carter, part of that Rebirth team. Nemesis is part of that Death Seed team. Very, very good characters. And Agatha is also in this Crucible store, who is going to give you value for unlocking Apocalypse. We also have the traditional legendary characters, which you need to build up eligible characters in order to get this unlocked. Some of the newer characters feature Scourges, which doesn't require as many characters or as much investment. But let's talk about which of these characters you should still be building. Adam Warlock, not a huge value nowadays. Infinity Watch is still one of the tougher teams to deal with in Crucible and War, but not needed for anything at this point. So if you needed to focus on other things, probably Adam Warlock's not one of the best characters. Same thing with Black Bolt. You're going to unlock this character very easily because the Asgardians are great. You're eventually going to get them, but probably wouldn't focus on your Asgardians just for the Black Bolt unlock. Let this one unlock naturally. Doc Ock, not a great character. There are rumors of him getting a rework, but the resources are so limited, I probably wouldn't build up any characters just based on rumors. Ebony Maw, you might need these characters for some of the early Doom campaigns, but once you get through these campaign missions, you probably don't need Ebony Maw at this point. There are rumors that the Black Order is getting a rework, but even if they do, I don't think that would be a great investment for newer players. You're going to need Invisible Woman for that Nowhere Heist event, which means that you're going to need Doc Ock and Invisible Woman. Sinister Six is what unlocks her, but I would just get that unlock for that Nowhere Heist. Outside of that, she is not needed at all in the game. In Iron Man is a good character, was part of that Raid Bionic Avengers team, but not needed nowadays as much. Very easy unlock, so it shouldn't be that much to unlock him because shield characters are very, very good. We also have Jubilee, not needed for much nowadays. She is part of that unlock for Adam Warlock, so you will need her if you want to build the Infinity Watch. But to do that, you're going to need to build these bad Pimtech characters. Magneto is required for Apocalypse, is part of that Death Seed, and is a requirement for some of the raids nowadays. So the good thing is you have a lot of options, a lot of different mutants you could use to unlock, but unlock Magneto as quick as possible. Nick Fury, this is probably the most painful unlock because he's needed for so much content nowadays. He is part of that Omega Red unlock that we see. He is part of that Invader team. But to build them, you're going to need to build these trashy, horrible Kree minions who serve no purpose in the game other than unlocking Nick Fury. So once it's done, it's done. But it's going to be pretty painful until you get Nick Fury up to 7 stars. Omega Red is one of the better war characters. Is very, very good as a plug-and-play character in Cosmic Crucible. For that, you're going to need these Secret Avenger characters, Winter Soldier, Nick Fury. So some characters that you probably should be building already. That is how you're going to get that Omega Red unlock. Phoenix isn't needed for too much nowadays, but you got a lot of great characters that you can use to unlock her. And Shuri, probably most necessary for that Chaos Theory. And you can use her in War. You can use her in Crucible, and you got a lot of eligible Spider-Verse characters that you have to unlock her. So this should be a pretty easy unlock. And we also have Star-Lord, needed for that Nowhere Heist if you want to get those dark promos and those Elite 7s. You have some of these other characters like Gamora that you probably could have already built for other game modes. But yeah, not a lot of great characters to do this unlock. So this is a character that I would unlock naturally. And just to review the legendary characters that I would be pushing for at this point in the game: Shuri, Omega Red, Nick Fury, and Magneto. The rest you kind of can skip until you get that natural unlock. Beginning last year, we got these Horsemen Scourges that were added to the game. These Horsemen characters, their unlock is a little different. To unlock Morgan Le Fay, you're going to need a bunch of characters for the other nodes, but for those nodes 5 and 10, you're going to need Web Warriors and Dark Hunters. Unfortunately, Web Warriors aren't really used for anything nowadays other than this Morgan Le Fay unlock, and Dark Hunters still have a little bit of value in war. For Rogue, you're going to need Young Avengers, who are a good team, but again, not really needed for anything nowadays. A4s, they just kind of got to sort of rework with Secret Defenders, and Inhumans not really needed for too much nowadays, but you're going to need these characters for Rogue. Gamma is the Red Hulk unlock. For that, you're going to need Hero Asgardians, which you should be building anywhere for other content in the game. Ravagers, not very good. Wave 1 Avengers, you do have some value that you're going to have some overlap with some of these early campaign nodes. And for Archangel, you're going to need your Bionic Avengers, who aren't very good in the game, and your Wakandans. So those are the teams you're going to need to build. Once you have these guys unlocked, you're going to need Darkhold, the full Darkhold, full Unlimited X-Men, full Gamma, full Deathseed, and these characters here, Spider-Weaver, Kestrel, and Deathpool, to unlock that big grand prize of Apocalypse. We also have Dark Dimension as a source of some pretty impactful characters in the game. And if you go to your roster section on MarvelStrikeForce.com, you can sync this roster, and you can start to use this Dark Dimension planner to plan out your path for Dark Dimension. Now, these are characters that I'm thinking of taking to Dark Dimension 6. I guess this is my wish list here. If resources aren't a thing, I'm probably not going to be taking in these characters. That's my biggest recommendation for Dark Dimensions. Whether you're going to Dark Dimension 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, start to plan out these characters that you want, start to look at the resources that you need, but don't be afraid to shift plans based on what you pull in some of these orbs, what kind of origin pieces you get for these characters in order to build, because you could be wanting all these characters and just never get the resources that you need. But these are characters I'm thinking of taking into Dark Dimension 6, which means they still are going to have value in some of these early Dark Dimensions. But yeah, I would probably overlap your Dark Dimension choices with the current content that you're doing wherever you are in the game. But for me, these are characters I'm thinking of taking the global: Apocalypse, Quicksilver, Nemesis, Doom, and Captain America. Cosmic would be Val, Cersei, not Icarus, because Icarus actually takes the same unique pieces Apocalypse there. But if I had my wish list, Icarus would be in this list as well. We also have Photon, one of the new Secret Defenders, Kang, and Dormammu. We also have Black Cat for the non-Horsemen legendaries, Omega Red, Magneto, Nick Fury, Nova. For city characters, well, we have 2 Secret Defenders. I think there was a locks there: Miss Marvel, Hardlight, and Ghost Rider. Rounded out, I think I would want to bring in Firestar, Mr. Negative, and Shang-Chi. And for our legendary with Apocalypse, our Horseman legendary, well, I would bring my Horseman and Apocalypse. So if you're in one of these earlier Dark Dimensions, just plan this out, look at the resources you have, and see what is going to be a good balance of getting you into Dark Dimension quickly, and good characters that you're going to get some value in Dark Dimension and beyond Dark Dimension as well. As far as the 4 major game modes in the game: Arena, Raids, Crucible, and War, I think you should be building, at least as a newer player or a mid-game player, building for only 2 of those, and that is Arena and the Raids. Initially, I think you just take whatever you can for War, take whatever you have for Crucible, make the best possible teams in that scenario, but focus on your Arena and Raid teams. Let's talk about Arena, how this works. Now, there's about 10 to 20,000 players per shard. Once they fill up that shard, then they create a new shard. So there's multiple shards in the game, and it's going by when you start playing. So once that shard is finished, then you start a new one. So if you have an old account that you created years ago, didn't play it, and are starting that up, you're going to be at a serious disadvantage with that Arena shard. It's probably better to start a new account at that point. Now, initially in Arena, I would just use your best characters possible. I wouldn't focus on building a particular team for Arena, trying to put together whatever you have. Focus more on those campaigns, those flash missions, and those challenges. But once you have those at a decent place based on where you are in your player level, then we'll start to focus on Arena. Now, this is the current Arena meta right now, but as you know, with the Secret Defenders coming, well, that Arena meta is going to shift totally. But if you want to keep up to date on what are the latest teams, what do you need to beat the current meta, make sure you are subscribed to this channel, because we're going to be giving you updates to that all the time. Or again, the reason this is such an important game mode, in my opinion, this is going to be your major source of power chords, which is going to help every game mode, and it's going to help with these events that are coming up. In addition to Arena, the other game mode you should be building characters for are the Raids. How big should you be building these characters? Well, at least enough to keep up with whatever your alliance is doing. So if your alliance is doing Ultimates, well, just be able to do whatever they're doing, 60%, 100%, whatever your alliance needs in the Raids, that's where you should be building these teams. Same thing with these Greek Raids. They're doing some of these early Greek challenges. Well, you could build them whatever teams, and Ultimates, you could build them whatever teams, but starting with the Doom raids, these incursion raids, you have to build up select characters for these nodes. And those node restrictions are based on their origin traits. So for the bio section, well, the best team right now is the Rebirth team. All of them are farmable except for Agent Venom, unless you consider those arena orbs farmable. You should start building these up for the bio section of the raids. And as far as skill, the Invaders are the best team here. Now, none of them, as of me recording this, are farmable. Nick Fury you can get with some farmable characters, but you have to farm those dirty Kree minions to get him. So this is not a very early accessible team, but these Secret Avengers are very accessible. They were the team before the Invaders arrived. They work pretty good. In addition to these characters, I use Shang-Chi and Kestrel to beat these early skill nodes, but yeah, this team is not going to work at all once you enter these incursion rates, and they're just going to struggle in some of the higher levels of Doom as well. So if you do end up building these characters, just know that they're going to be replaced later. This Death Seed Horseman team is going to be the best for all the mutant sections. You do manage to get a big boy Apocalypse. You can replace some of these characters to make them stronger, but these guys fully sim every single day. So these are characters I would focus on. And Nemesis is farmable, Dark Beast is farmable, Psylocke is farmable, Magneto, you could start to farm the characters to unlock him. He's a permanent legendary now. Archangel, unfortunately, we'd have to wait till his event rolls around in order to unlock this character, but very, very good team here in the Death Seed. And last but not least, with the current raid teams is the Mystic team, the Bifrost team. Now, this is not a very farmable team either. The good thing about the Mystic section, we had a lot of great Mystic characters that you could kind of piece together a team until you have this full Bifrost team. And I do want to talk about the best solution for the tech team if we're talking full teams, and it is these Bionic Avengers. Although hybrid teams will get you a lot farther in these incursion raids, but this is not a team that I would focus on too much. Yes, they were designed to beat the Doom raids. We are in the incursion raids, so this team should get replaced pretty soon for the incursion raids. But as of me recording this, this is the best by default team for tech. So at this point, you should have most of these non-hard campaign nodes 3-starred. I would be working towards 3-starring the rest of the campaigns, those hard campaigns. You should have a good arena team. You should have your challenges done, your flash events done. You should have some raid teams to beat whatever content your alliance is completing in the raids, as far as a Doom, incursion, your Greek raids. And now it's time to start focusing your Crucible teams or your war teams. Now, I think this is going to come down to personal preference. For the longest time, Crucible had much better rewards. The war rewards were really bad. They did recently improve some of the war rewards, and the Crucible rewards are kind of getting outdated. So I think at this point, it's just whatever you have the most fun with. Are you going to have more fun in Alliance War? Are you going to have more fun in Cosmic Crucible? Cosmic Crucible does require less teams, so take that in mind, but it's up to you at this point. Just have fun with the game at this point. Focus on your other Dark Dimension unlocks, focus on that Apocalypse unlock, and start building for that end game. That is it for this edition of the 2023 Beginner's Guide. A lot has changed over the years. And is there something that you did as a newer or mid-game player that you think would benefit players nowadays? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching though, guys. And if you haven't already subscribed, like I said, hit that subscribe button for more great Marvel Strike Force content. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this video, gave you this value, hit that like button, share this with your friends that just started playing. And if you want to see what are the best teams in Marvel Strike Force now, make sure you check out the video up there. Thanks for watching though, guys. Hulk fist bump, ValleyFlyin out.